Hi, this is Michelle Davis. Welcome to America for Non-Americans. Today, we're going to be talking about the Affordable Care Act. Although, in this episode, we're just going to take a step or two, few years before the Affordable Care Act to continue to discuss the wild, hee-haw, west of healthcare that existed before the Affordable Care Act. Here's John to actually explain it to us.
Hi, I'm John. Okay, in the old days, now I'm going to speak with the perspective of Minnesota in particular because that's, well, what I know. It used to be before the Affordable Care Act that either you got your insurance through your employer, and hey, that was great, right? Mm-hmm. Except then you were kind of stuck on an employer, and if you didn't like the job, well, yeah, you're screwed.
You lose your insurance.
Because if you left, you have to pay like these enormous fees called COBRA to continue the coverage, which just absolutely was painful. And there were employers that didn't offer insurance. Maybe they were too small or too cheap. They found
they said you can work 31 and a half hours or 31.99999 hours because if you work 32 hours, then we have to give you benefits. So they worked around ways to not provide benefits.
If you didn't get insurance through your employer and you went out and tried to get insurance through the marketplace, you'd oftentimes get no thank you. Which would leave you with limited options. In Minnesota, you could then apply for something called MCHA, which would provide coverage. It wasn't terrible, but it was expensive. You paid
a lot.
They basically recovered all the 100% of the cost plus an administration fee. So you can imagine it was pretty expensive. It was basically insuring everybody that the private companies decided not to insure. So of course it's more expensive. So if you had a pre-existing condition, you could qualify for something called MCHA.
Which is like a Minnesota Comprehensive Health Plan.
Association. Okay. And, that was okay, but it was pretty expensive. And then there was the rest of the people. And then, maybe you didn't make a lot of money or, God forbid, you were unemployed. You could then qualify for something called Minnesota Care.
If you were employed but did not make enough money to afford coverage and you were a family with children, it's sort of I would say more of a Scandinavian country sort of thing, Minnesota Care, because it actually helps working families with small children. We have a couple of friends who used to have medical assistance for their children after the Affordable Care Act. These were people that would not, prior to the Affordable Care Act, also called Obamacare, have qualified. So prior to January 1st, 2014, these people would have been the people without any insurance at all. So they would have racked up debt. So they were one of the people that was covered by the Affordable Care Act because they had pre-existing conditions or they made too little to pay insurance because they just had no money. Unfortunately, what's happened with Minnesota and a lot of other states is that they didn't know how much insurance was going to cost or procedures. I'm just going to take an example. I read that an employee of UHG said, hey, it's an MRI. I think people should be charged about $500 for an MRI, so 3 times that amount, so $1,500 for an MRI. Where did that number come from? He literally pulled it out of his tuchus. This has no basis in reality.
No.
They never tell you that they calculated cost on a mathematical formula, which seems insane to me. It seems like if we're going to have the bean counters and the lawyers in charge, then actually do your job.
Right. Base the prices off how much it actually costs.
Right. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in episode 3 of America for Non-Americans regarding healthcare in America. Thanks, and comment below.